They say I wouldn't do it like I won't. They say I couldn't do it and they feel. They say I wouldn't do it and I fold. They say I couldn't do it and I did. I'm a champion. I'm a champion.
Yo, hello for love everyone. Welcome to Talk Your Walk podcast. You're in for a treat here. We are honoured to have a guest, whose journey into the rugby league world is nothing short but inspiring. You know, he's gone on to play professionally. He's an ex-professional, represented, played in the NRL, should say, Super League, played at the highest level, taught Samoa, the Kiwis. He's also gone on to make history, become the first Samoan, I believe, to be, head coach of a professional rugby league team. And, on top of that, I believe he's coach Toa Samoa 2009.
Yeah.
Got that right? Yeah. And, he's a current Toa Samoa assistant coach, bringing his passion, his expertise into the international stage.
Yeah, one of the pioneers, eh?
Oh, one of the pioneers. The
led the way, was it?
Led the way. So tune in, everyone. You're definitely in for a treat. We're going to dive into his, incredible journey. Touch on his highs and lows of his career, the challenges that he faces as a trailblazer, and the impact that he continues to make, on and off the field. So Willy Poching, such an honour. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you're a man on the mission. It was a blessing that the timing could just fit in, and you making the time for us here at Talk Your Walk.
It's an honour to be here, boys. It's been a pretty awesome trip coming back here and watching you guys carry the mantle now for looking after our boys and looking after our people, and it's really important for us as a community and as a collective that we watch out for each other and promote each other and what you guys are doing from afar, to watch you guys go at it and do this podcast and do your Talk Your Walk. It's been an outstanding thing to see, and congratulations to you guys. But thank you for having me on this morning.
No, thank you also. You touched on it, and I know Q will speak highly of it as well. You're definitely one of the pioneers that have led the way for us. 100%. I know as a kid growing up, it was a household name, the Pochings. We played. Obviously, my journey to the NRL was through the Fox Memorial, and I know you represented Marist, believe, and I do apologise in advance for being I know I must add in there, 2012 champion Fox Memorial. Not many get to win and hold the shield up there. Did you win the Fox?
Fortunately, I won one 93, I think, with the Tigers, Northcote.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. No, but it's you should be proud of that.
No, I want to mention me coming through. I was Marist Saints Junior, so that was my first club.
Yeah.
When I was 9, and your name was massive, and the boys used to say, "Oh, just behind the fence there. Oh, that's Poacher's house." That's what he used to say. But yeah, just you're a pioneer, man, and like we said, really honoured for you to be here and share your story, and I'm sure it will help a lot of people out there as well.
No, thank you, and it's very touching that you speak like that about what I've done, but I stand on the shoulders of people before me too, and I felt a responsibility, as did my colleagues in my time, Joe Vangana, Leslie Vanakolo, Frankie Watson, Martin Moana, David Solomona, Ali Lautiti. We got taught lessons to look after the guys that came after us, and that's all we did, and it was natural. One thing I've learnt about being back home in New Zealand and being reminded of that you tend to forget a bit of your culture, and a big part of our culture is we are people of service. We're taught to serve and look after those, especially our elders and people in our community, and I suppose that's what we do naturally, is we serve and we look after each other, and that's all we tried to do, myself and my brothers that I've worked with. And as I said, it's an honour for me to sit here now and watch you guys giving your service back after the game, and your time here has been so good as it was for me and my family.
Well, appreciate you sharing that. You touched on, man, some big names. Again, your name, but you mentioned the likes of Joe Wagner, all these names that, household names. And
OGs, man.
Man, I think, you mentioned Joe Wagner. He was, I believe, played for Tat Roosters, and that was the first club that I come through. That's why, man, when you mentioned those names, man, what a responsibility that, we haven't, you mentioned it's an honour to grab it. But I noticed, the international overseas players that do make the move from back home and they've stayed here for 10 plus years longer, usually they put their roots down. In your case, I believe it was 20 years before you uprooted and win again. How had you found that transition, and, what was the thought process behind that?
Well, I initially came for 2 years, and all of us come here for the initial contract. We do our time, and then, as was the case with me, one contract led to another, fortunately, and then progressed into coaching, and before we knew it was 25 years down the track. Things happened, and my wife and I had been talking about the possibility of moving back home, and just for the experience, if nothing else, to see what it was like. And if we hadn't done it when we did, we probably would never have done it.
Yeah.
As you said, it's been tough because you set your roots here.
Yeah.
Our kids are settled here, all of us. Their circle of friends and what they know, their life is here. What we knew, our friendship circle, our contacts, we knew how to live. We've gone back now to learn how to do taxes again, licenses, buy a car, and everything's totally different. Especially in New Zealand, man. It's so relaxed and laid back. Nobody's in a rush. But that's all been part of learning again.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome being back home.
Yeah.
It's been tough to settle in. We're not quite there yet. But we do miss being back here.
Yeah.
But as you said, you're here for a while. And I think it's natural to embed yourself over here and feel a bit English.
Yeah.
No, thanks for sharing that. But I just want to, before we move forward, something that we do at Talk Your Walk, Chicken 321, and it's something that we encourage everyone to do. And it's just, we talk about checking in, and we do the generic, how are you, in the surface level. But we want to do like a proper check-in that we do. It's an acronym, FAM. So F stands for family, A stands for activity, and M stands for mindset. And all it is given a rating out of 5 on how you are with each topic. So how's the family, man?
Yeah, 5. That's the big reason for us coming back.
Oh, nice.
And that's probably been the toughest reason for leaving.
Yeah.
It was 3 boys. One's been living in New Zealand for 7 years now, and going over and being with him and seeing how he's doing in his life, and sharing what he's been up to, it was part of the reason for going.
Yeah.
That's been awesome. He's back now, but we missed the other 2 that stayed here. So coming back and having Christmas here, and our son that lives in New Zealand's been back as well. So the 5 of us were back here for Christmas, and that was awesome. So yeah, as far as that's concerned, Q, 5, big 5 for family. It's really strong at the moment.
Well, they're solid. I know you touched on a little bit about leaving and coming back to your 2 boys. I guess that would have been a challenge in itself. How did you feel, I guess, emotionally or mentally around leaving your 2 boys here after being here for such a long period?
It was tough. It was real tough. But we tried to make their transition as much as ours as easy as possible. We left them in our house, and I thought that was a pretty simple way for them to sort of get on their own 2 feet. But the other side of it is too, we've tried as parents along the journey to give them the right lessons to stand on their own 2 feet. Yeah. And ultimately, I've always felt that as a parent, one of your jobs is to set them up for when they fly, to be able to stand on their own 2 feet.
Yeah.
To teach them the rights and wrongs, and teach them how to cook and clean and just generally look after themselves. So we trusted that process. We trusted that we had done enough for them to stand on their own 2 feet, as well as giving them the setup. So we were comfortable with it. We checked in and check in most days with them, and it's a lot easier now to check in than it was when we first came over.
Yeah.
When we first came across, I think our phone bill for the first 2 weeks was £800.
true. Yeah,
Just ringing up home. We're at training. My wife's at home. She's ringing her mum, and that's how it was. And now you got FaceTime. You can video. And it's all free. So we're FaceTiming and checking in on them every single day, pretty much. And so that was really tough to do, really. But it was also a part of, okay, here's a chance for them to grow even further.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, touching on that. I know you touched on the $800 bill there. I think that was nothing as your marquee.
Please. Please. No marquee.
Wow, lucky.
No, thanks for sharing that. So activity. I know with activity, it's just movement. How's your movement? How's your training going? Because I know that's important when it comes to up here. So what's that?
Yeah, pretty poor at the moment,
Yeah.
to be honest. I've not done a lot of training, and I understand it's easy to make excuses, and it's poor to make excuses. But yeah, it's one thing I am looking forward to, getting back home and getting back in. Obviously, the weather when we get back home, but we've got our gym sorted out. We've been busy here trying to sort things out. We're in the process of selling a house, so it's trying to get everything sorted with all that. So yeah, activity is pretty poor, probably there too at the moment, and I know it needs to be better.
No, thank you for being honest there. And that's something something I was speaking about before as well, something I need to be better with as well. Obviously with my heart attack, I need to be more active, and that's something that needs improving. But, thank you for being honest with that as well.
Yeah,
All good.
appreciate you, because you didn't realise you just being vulnerable, honest, might not mean much to you at the time, but it speaks volumes to other people around you. And, you just being bold and honest shows that, okay, this is where you can get the help you need, or show you where you are and where you need to get to. So appreciate your honesty.
And third one, mindset. How's the mind, man?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it is good. It's probably 3.5, and I say that because, as I say, we're selling our house, and it's the house that holds so much for us. It's where my kids grew up, and we brought up our family. It's more than a house to us. And we're letting a big part of our lives go then. And it's probably a little bit of finality for us being here in England. As long as we've had the house, I've been able to refer, when I'm talking to people in New Zealand, back home. The kids are at home. I'm not sure if I'll say that or refer to this place as that once we do sell the house. But we're also, one of the boys has decided to stay. So, there's a little bit of gut wrenching there, and him staying behind makes it tough again. But why I say it's a 3.5, I'm also excited for what I've got coming up. I've got some really interesting and exciting meetings when I get back to New Zealand with some job prospects. So I'm excited for that. So some tough bits here, but some exciting bits back there. So 3.5.
Nice, yeah. No, thank you for sharing those those numbers and the way you rated it. Obviously, it's something that we're big on checking in, because it's how we grew. It's how we first became vulnerable with each other. So now it's become like our signature. Encouraging people to check in and what we do on our potty as well. So thank you for being honest and vulnerable. And
thank you, and well done to you. As we know, it's tough enough as males, as men, to be vulnerable in front of each other and to be open and honest. But it's even tougher in our culture.
Yeah.
In our culture, we're not encouraged to be open and honest and what's considered soft. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the way we were brought up.
Yeah.
Saw plenty of jandals and belts for crying, for gunging, and but we know better now. And to try and stop that and change that stigma for what you guys are doing, you got to be congratulated for it, and well done. It's awesome.
No, thank you heaps. Thanks heaps also on sharing that. I think because we touched on that a bit, with our upbringing and culture. It'll be awesome to hear, what you touch on a bit about that. Why do you think that is? That stigma on, you speak up, it's a weakness.
like I say, that's how we were brought up. That's how our dads were brought up. It was how it was in their day. And I just, that impression you try and give as the tough man, you know, as the father, as the leader. And you're taught never to cry and never be vulnerable and always shy away. And what we're learning now, thankfully, and for some, unfortunately, it's too late. You bottle things up, and it's like that can of Coke, it explodes. You know, it's shaking up, it's there. It doesn't go away just because you try and sweep it under the carpet. So the importance of being able to talk and release, I'm very, very fortunate that my wife taught me along our journey to talk and be open, because I was one of those. I just shut down pretty much, but I've learned the importance, hence why I'm open to being, because and if it helps somebody along the way to feel that they're comfortable in being vulnerable and being open and honest, and it helps them with any issues or problems they're having, then that's cool with me. But it is important. We should be trusted in whatever environment to be able to help each other and put an arm around someone and ask.
No, it's good that you spoke about that. I just feel like my grandparents, my mum and dad, that's all they knew, was it? You know, that's all they knew, was to be hard on us, to tell us not to show weakness. And we spoke about it before, is now we're in a position where we can teach our kids about being vulnerable, you know, because how are they going to be vulnerable to us if we don't show vulnerability to them? So is that something that you're big on as well?
Yeah, for sure. It's got to go both ways.
Yeah.
It's got to go both ways. I have a giggle because, you know, when we were kids, we, you know, showed a tear or something. We laugh about this at home. We are people of looks or noises.
Silly.
And he might be in somewhere where there's a crowd. And that's we can.
Two eyes raised.
We're going to move on from that. You know, and we've got to lead that. As parents of today, we've got to lead that, and you're 100% correct. We've got to show our kids that we're comfortable in trusting them with how we're feeling, so that they can do the same coming back to us.
Yeah, no, 100%, man, 100%.
Yeah, appreciate you sharing that. What do you call it? You touched on some exciting things going on for you in New Zealand. How has the transition been? Like, what's Willy Poching doing now in New Zealand, and what's there to look forward to?
Yeah, it's been, I won't say tougher than we thought, because we knew it was going to be tough. We're stepping into an environment, and coaching-wise has been difficult. Yeah. Coaching-wise, especially at the NRL level. I'm back at Marist. My brother-in-law, he's the head coach, and I'm helping him out. Nice. I just pop down and mentor him and be one of his assistants and help out where I can and give back to the club, especially. It's going through a tough time at the moment where the club got burnt down and we're in the process of trying to keep the numbers in, which is it's difficult without any club rooms. But the club means so much to me and my family, and those that have played there. We've got to keep it going. So that's one of the things I'm up to. I'm working for a Pacific Island radio station. The network is Pacific Media Network, or PMN, and they've got 2 radio stations. They've got an FM, New FM, and the older one is the AM, which is 531 PI, which you're familiar with, which is essentially a language, Pacific languages radio station. There's something like 11 or 12 languages from the Solomons, Papua New Guinea, Tonga, Cook Islands, Niue, Samoan. So there's loads, and it's ever growing. It's ever growing. I've just got Papua New Guinea on there, and I do the sport. I do all the sport for the station, which is something I'm really passionate about. And did a bit of radio over here with BBC Leeds, and sort of sparked an interest in me. Thankfully, Jerry Siusiu, who's the welfare man at the Warriors, looking after everyone, is great with all the ex-players. And he tapped me up after being home for a couple of months and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm not doing anything at the moment." He said, "What do you want to do?" Told him about radio, organised a meeting. 3 days later, I was on the air.
Oh, wow.
So it was really, really good. And also doing a bit of commentary for Sky with mostly the Warriors games. But I really love doing that. Those are some of the meetings I've got to have when I get back. And the broadcasting side is something really, really exciting to me.
Yeah.
At the moment. And again, there's not many Pacific Islanders in that area
Yeah.
but I know that there are a lot that want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got to break the door down and,
Yeah.
and open the doors for them.
Fuck, good on you, man. Because, yeah, like you said, it only takes one Pacific Islander to do something for then everyone to have the courage to do it, eh? And, man, you're a natural on broadcasting. You know, when you speak in that, you're a natural. You come across as a natural, not like when Sui talks, the English is broken. But, man, that's such a good thing to hear. And, we want our people going into different lives,
sure.
eh? And,
Yep.
those occupations where we fall was too far-fetched, like broadcasting. If you got someone like yourself going in there, right, a lot of people will follow.
Yeah, I suppose there's, I'm talking about stigmas, there's some things that, and I've heard some of my nephews say, no, we don't do those sort of jobs.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I don't want to do that. That's not something we do.
Yeah.
But we can do anything,
Yeah.
and hopefully, one thing I was really proud of, when I finished coaching over here,
Yeah.
almost instantaneously, the year after, then there's Tommy Luluai and Kristen Inu got into coaching.
Yeah.
Two other Samoan boys that are doing it, and that was a real proud moment for me to see that, it's okay to do that. Let's go, let's do it.
Yeah.
And whether that's agents, whether that's chief execs like Frank Pulitua and Motutoni are doing,
Yeah.
those guys are leading the way in what they do.
Yeah.
And over here, what you guys are doing by doing this, Carl Hall, Kylie Luluai, working and doing really well off the field.
Yeah.
There's
Nige as
opportunities.
well. What's
Nigel,
Nige?
yeah, Nigel's done the welfare stuff, and he's got his fingers in every pie going. He's got a really good podcast as well, branching out. But we've got to encourage our players to do that. We don't have to just stick to doing one area of thing or move off and get out of the game.
When you talk about coaching, just kind of veer off a little bit. So we spoke about being the Samoan to become head coach at professional rugby league level. I know it was at Wakefield. How was that time? Obviously, being named the head coach, then having the season that you had, and then the way it finished and all that.
Yeah, I was proud. I was real proud to, become a head coach.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted initially. It wasn't about being the first Samoan or being the first Pacific Islander or whatever. That wasn't what I was chasing. I started out as an assistant coach at Leeds 16 or 17 years before that, in the hopes of becoming a head coach at some stage. So to be able to be given the opportunity was awesome. And the experience was everything I thought it would be. Because I'd been an assistant for so long, I'd watched what other head coaches had gone through and the ups and downs and the challenges of the job. And that's the position you put yourself in. You're in a position to be fired at and shot at by all sorts, players, fans, critics, whatever. But, I've always been about preparation and trying to prepare. And unfortunately, things went sour, and that's the way it goes sometimes in coaching. And the unfortunate thing for me is I haven't been back in, but that's not to say that I've given up or stopped chasing. In fact, what Samoa has been able to do for me and being able to work with the Toa Samoa again, the camps are that high level that I'm really excited. It burns the fire again to keep going.
Because I know your coaching gig at Wakefield, like you were there for a year, and the story goes you've gone in to review the season, and then on the back of that, they let you go. Just out of the blue. How was that for you?
Tough.
Like the feeling,
tough. I'd had a conversation in the lead up to that meeting, and it was during that conversation that I thought, all right, something's happening here. And you start to read between the lines, and when I look back on it, I'm proud of what we did. We were the lowest spending team in the competition, compared to some teams by millions.
Yeah.
And one of those teams we were able to beat 3 times.
Yeah.
And we had a dogfight there for a while to avoid relegation. And I think with 4 weeks to go, we were able to clear that and be safe. So that pressure was off.
Yeah.
So in my head, at the time, I'm thinking, all right, we can start to build and see what the plans are for next year. But the directors at the club at the time thought we should have been the top 6 team. How, when you spend the least out of everyone, I'm not sure. But that was their decision. As a coach, you were put in a position to make some tough decisions, and as a director, you're going to make some decisions yourselves, and that's the decision they made. They went a different direction, which ultimately made my decision and my wife's decision, and opened the door for us to go home.
Okay. Yeah.
So, it happened for a reason.
Yeah.
I see, but I enjoyed my time. Are there things that I would change? Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
As the experience made me stronger, have I learned from it? 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, eh?
Yeah.
It's learning from it.
Yep.
I know it was a dogfight, that relegation zone that year. Did you beat Casford Tigers that year? Because I know Sui was at Casford Tigers and they were fighting for relegation as well, eh? So, and they were one of the. I think they spent one of the most in terms of cafe. So I just want to kind of get your thoughts. Was Casford one of the teams that you beat that year?
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think we played our B team at the time. No, but you can mention
I remember that night.
Yeah.
It was a Friday night away at Cass, playing for Adam Martinez Trophy, which is special to me.
Yeah.
Adam was a very good friend, and the club hadn't won it for a long, long time.
17 times.
Yeah, 17 games, I think.
was that the first time? Wow.
Yeah.
And that night, at the same time, Toulouse were playing, and we were in the dogfight with Toulouse.
Yeah.
And all the questions were that if we lost and Toulouse won, we were at the bottom, and were we going to get out? And that was never at all my focus on them. Whilst I knew they were there and it was in the background, my focus was on that Castleford game. And, the boys turned it on, and we were close, I think, the week before to beating St Helens, who beat us by a drop goal. So we were pretty confident going into the game. We'd started to turn our form around, made some adjustments to how we were playing, and focused on some small areas to be better at, and we got them all right that night and got it done. And thankfully got Adam's trophy back and had a good win, and we Toulouse lost and gave us some breathing space.
Yeah. Was one of your game plans to spot Sui or?
Sad guy.
No, I remember that game vividly, because it was something we felt a responsibility. I think it's been 17 games in a row, and so I knew it was something that we wanted to hold on and carry on. If I was to leave that club, and make it leave it in better hands or better place. I remember you guys come out first 10 minutes. There was a different aura about you guys, the energy that you brought, and I was like, "Fuck, these guys have turned it on me." So, man, and then that loss that hurt even more because we were held accountable. Like we have our chickens, and these guys just beat Matautia because they were here too when carrying on that. And I think it was something they kept, personal. Their battle against
Wakey. Because
Yeah,
they never
yeah.
lost against Wakefield.
No.
Cass for years.
Yeah.
And so that was a hard one. Honestly, I took that to heart as well.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I felt.
Sorry, it was.
My bad. No, I want to go into some of your playing days.
Yeah.
You played a few games. You played two games with the Warriors. You moved to Australia, played a few games at clubs in Australia, North Queensland.
Yep.
And then you played most of your time in Leeds.
Yeah.
How was it, that stage, that time, in terms of not many Pacific Islander players coming through or playing at professional level, and how was it as a young PI coming through?
Yeah, probably that landscape changed what feels like overnight. I signed for the Warriors, and before they came in, John Money, the coach, sent me to Brisbane, and sent me and another guy, Gus Maliator, over to Brisbane, and we did a season just to get used to playing in Australia. So when we came back and Warriors did their first pre-season, we were ready for what was needed. And I remember going there. There was myself, Gus, and another Fijian guy, Anoki Ratudina, and then the next Islander on the team was a young centre in the under-19s coming through from Redcliffe, Petro Sivanasiva.
Oh, wow.
So we were the only Islanders in the Broncos or would come to training at that time. And then obviously I came to the Warriors back. That was all Brown. It was all the Island boys from home. But then when I went to the Cowboys and it started to get loads, then that was just a change. And whether that was to do with the guys before us, the Fred Arcoys and James Luluais, also Filipinas, that started to break it down. Even the Tony Kemps, James Gouldings, they opened the door for us. You know, they made it okay to become a rugby league player and play at that level. Because all the Islanders before us, we all had to go to rugby union. You know, everyone was playing rugby union. Rugby league had a bad name. It was the professional game. It was the evil game. But then it became okay to come to rugby league. You could earn a living. Especially when Ingo Tuangamala came across the Wigan. That was the real opening door moment for Pacific Islanders. So, you know, it wasn't the case when Matthew Ridge did it before him, but when Inga did it, it's okay.
So how many Islanders were, before Inga did it? Were there many in the Super League or?
There were a few here. But it never got on TV in New Zealand.
True.
And there was Apollo Perolini, and he was over here at the same time. So there were a few. Solomona was over here. Loads would come over and play George Mann, but because it wasn't on TV, they'd only be seen when they came back and played for the Kiwis. So it wasn't as big until Inga came across.
So with your playing days, obviously back home, and then coming over here, did you notice much of a difference in terms of playing style, standards? When I first came over, I came across to play for Hunslet. I did 2 games at Hunslet. It was all about work permits and visas to try and validate them. So coming to Hunslet, I tell the story. I played at Cronulla for St George on the Friday. It was a big milestone game for the derby, and it was sold out. And warm, hot Friday night at Shark Park. The next Friday, I'm at Post Office Road. Playing for Hunslet against Featherston. Because I'd been in the pipeline for a while. I had to leave. I wasn't playing enough games at St George to be able to come if I'd stayed for the rest of the season. So I had to leave before their season was done. And I'm sitting on the bench for Hunslet as a back rower, mostly. I was a back rower. And then the coach who came up to me during the game and said, can you play prop? I was like, you can't say no to a new team. So I said, if you need me to, I will do. So played prop, cold, wet, got Sinbin for the very first time. So I was like, what am I doing? And then ended up signing for Wakey. And it was different. It was a different game, totally different to anything in Aussie. But as you guys know, there's a lot less scrutiny and pressure here, which is why I think a lot of the island boys in particular that come over thrive and flourish, because there's none of that pressure. There's so much, especially today, nowadays, there's so much pressure, and you're in that fishbowl as the NRL player. There's so much on you 24/7, and especially with social media. But come here, there's less of that. There's less of that media scrutiny and
24-hour cameras in your face.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened. That was the case for me. I was able to come here as it was an attack-orientated game, which helped me. And, there's no pressure. Play for Wakey.
Yeah. And, when you talk about one of the main differences is the pressure, obviously the money as well. Can you kind of pinpoint anything else that's different from, back when you were playing to how the game is now?
I said when I first came, standards, playing style, not so much coaching, but development and the promotion and everything around the game was probably 10 years behind when I first came.
Yeah.
I just think at this moment in time, where it is and where the NRL monster is going, it's probably 30 years behind. You go to every ground, every club, and their training facility is almost NFL now. And every team has got that facility. You watch some of these videos now of clubs training, and they've got the cinema,
it's crazy,
theatre room to do their meetings and their reviews, and they understand the importance of getting everything off the field right. In order, as I was told by someone in the NRL when I was visiting some clubs, on the field, every club is competing with the same pot of players. So the product on the field is very similar. You get marginal calls that make decisions. But where the club can have a real effect on the outcome is off the field and getting all that stuff right. Getting the training facilities. Which is why even clubs like the Tigers and the Dogs, outstanding facilities nowadays. I don't know where clubs are going to move to that over here. I don't know where or when. Some of the clubs won't even upgrade stadiums properly.
I know. And I think another thing is the player welfare stuff as well back home is, like, compared to the way it is over here, is ridiculous. And like when you talk about 30 years ahead, man, that may be even more when it comes to the well-being. And the reason why I touch on it is, so when I had my heart attack, I had no one from the RFL reach out to me, and I couldn't imagine like the other boys who were going through like similar stuff or struggles themselves. Like, what do they have in place for someone that's going through struggles? Because, man, that when I reflect back, I'm like, no one really reached out to me, to kind of see how I was. Like, lucky I had the people around me at the time. My wife was massive, these boys, but just, nothing in place for boys who are going through their struggles as well. And I know back home, they got a really good system in place for all that stuff, don't they?
Yeah, and some of that is creating standards. And being upheld to that standard, but also the players having a strong voice. Is really important over there, and holding the game to account. Like, who holds the RFL to account here? No one. The players need a voice here. Whether that's ownership or the RFL itself that are scared of the players having a voice, but the players, I've said this for years, need to get together and get something together.
100%.
I'm talking to some players now over here, and they're having 4 weeks off. The season is so long here. There's no minimum standards. For everything, there's got to be minimum standards and standards to start with, but there's not. So
it's crazy. It's crazy you mentioned that, and it's like the RLPA back home. It's power numbers, and if only us as players here in the UK understand that. Because I remember coming over, and I don't know if you were there at the time at the Giants. I think we just finished or going through the COVID transition, and there was a lot of people not getting paid, furlough and all that kind of stuff. But we had no power, and we tried to voice, let's come together as players and clubs. No one was willing to stand, and that's what I found crazy coming from the NRL, where you had the guys like Cameron Smith, Jonathan Feston. They're coming to their back end career. They didn't need to do what they did, but they were thinking about those who are behind. And I was thinking there's something that we can learn in the hopes that the next 5 or 10 years we can change.
And something I really thought was important that when they were talking about the last CBA and the players, the girls were included in the conversation as well. So they're included in those standards. Not when we're talking about the young ones coming through. It's everybody. It's every player that plays our great game. So there's a lot to go. And look, don't get me wrong. I'm not rubbishing Super League. But I think there's so much that it can use to improve and look at to improve. And some of it is finances, why they don't do it. Some of it, new players the players today got to get a voice. And I'm a big fan and an advocate, and I'll always fight for Super League. It was so good to me, and I love the product. And it's got so many talented players, and does so many things right. But there's you can't just sit on we do 1, 2 things right when we do 3, 4, 5 wrong. Or we could get 3, 4, 5 better.
No, to kind of finish off, I want to talk about your time with the Samoan team, being assistant coach. Obviously you invited some of the old boys to help out with the training. It was good to see some old boys as well, part of the staff. Obviously yourself, Tony Puletua, Nigel Wangana's involved, Mark Tofua. And it was good to be involved in the intensity of the way training was. And a lot of the boys who were in the team, like Jerome Luai, Jeremiah Nanai, spoke about how the intensity was, how professional the camp was. And the future's looking good for Samoa. But just to, it's a performance-based, industry. And obviously we didn't, come away with the win both games. Why do you think that was?
It was tough. England were quality. I'm not going to take anything at all away from England. And I thought the camp was outstanding. And huge thanks to you guys for coming back. And I'm really thankful that we have a coach that really values the ex-players. Hence why we've got those guys, Tony and Nigel and Mark involved because of what they've done and the mana that they have within the group, and they're standing instantaneously when the boys come into camp. But also having you guys come in is a really important part for the coach and for the group to recognise the guys that we follow and who have done it, and they're also doing it here. And I was so proud to see your boy Suia come and train, and Fee, the guys for tomorrow, come and rub shoulders with these guys, and if it helps them become better and they're able to take lessons away, then that's a win for us. But whilst we didn't win the 2 tests, we had a lot of wins off the field. We brought a very young team across, and which I think we had 11 debutants this year. We had something like 12 or 13 last year. So in the last 2 years, we've broadened our selection pool, and our process and our plan is to build to the 26 World Cup. That's what we're doing. We had 15 guys, I think, pull out from the initial selection pot that we had, whether that was through injury or clubs putting pressure on players. We're hoping that in the future we get some players come across to us.
Some good news, surely,
Hopefully, to have Murray Talangi come across to us last year, and Jeremiah Nanai come this year. And, 2 former Australian players. There may be some more. Fingers crossed.
Roger as well.
Roger come across, huge.
Massive win. You talk about the small wins. I think previously you don't had much, like top tier 1 teams, like players come over and you make the change. So again, you touch on the small wins. Whilst it's the opposition, it's the other side. We've got to give thanks to Jason Tomalolo and Andrew Fafita for what they did. They started the flow and made it okay to come back and play for our nations. Roger coming back was a huge one. But also how they were in camp. And those senior, him and Jerome, were outstanding leaders for our group, and the young fellas that we did bring across. They've gone back, hopefully better for the company that they kept, but also hopefully for the coaching and the environment that we created. And it's a different Samoa camp, I think, to
to what the players were used to before. Not rubbishing anything that was done before, but we're just trying to change it and take it into the next direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, it's funny because a lot of the boys over here, because we rep Samoa hard over here, and everyone knows it, man. And after those 2 games, the boys were giving it to us, all the English boys.
Yeah,
were like, "Oh, don't worry, bro. Like, we're building to the World Cup. That's the main one." So, had a lot of young players, but just wait until the World Cup comes around, and I'm sure we'll get you then.
But I'm really grateful, to yourself and the staff for allowing us, and we touched on, the opportunity to inspire the next gen. So coming back into camp and then, having our boys as well experiencing that.
Yeah.
I think it would be a big letdown, if we were to invite, tier 1 players that represented Kiwis in Australia and then come back to Samoa with a standard to learn. For me, being previously involved in Tour Samoa, the last 2 World Cups, man, I've seen a massive difference. And hats off to the staff and those who got on board. But when you talk about attention to detail, professionalism, man,
Intensity as well.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Mate, the warm-up that got me. I was like, wow. I was like, just being a part of the warm-up, it just appreciates, like, the journey I've been through from back in the NRL. Like,
Yeah.
It was a great reminder, like, man, the standard was that high.
Yeah.
I was blowing in warm-up, and everything was just on the time, on the money, like. But you got, it's crazy when you can build an environment. To see where you go, you can put anyone in the environment and they're gonna thrive.
That's it.
And that's what I felt, and I took away from it. And I'm grateful, man. Like, it gave my son the opportunity to look. That's the level, because obviously he's, and hats off again to the Tour Samoa team for doing, making history and making the grand final. That inspired so many Samoans I know here in the UK. Like my son and his generation, they all want to play for Tour Samoa now, and for him just to rub shoulders with the greats, that were in the team,
Superstars,
and to go up and defend against. I still remember vividly in the mind when I told him, hey, you got to make sure you talk, even if the ball goes that way, make sure you're set. And then when you say Roger to us,
remember when you let that try in?
Was that with my inside shoulder? The guy said, we always talk about just keep tying in there. So but it was crazy, like what you have put in. Like, that's like, again, you talk about the wins, and I see massive wins. But it's exciting, It's,
and I suppose one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to forge a reputation where players know they're coming into a professional environment, that clubs trust the environment they're coming into, and that we're going to look after the players and give them the best preparation possible. I don't think that's always been the case. It's been a fun time, and we try and have some fun, and we mixed in some good cultural stuff. While we were here, the boys got to a football game at Ellen Road and Watts Leeds United, which was an eye-opener for them. So it's not just about what we do on the field, it's we're trying to make the whole camp 2 weeks of fun and work.
No,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, no, but man, appreciate your time, mate. Appreciate you coming on the podcast, sharing your journey, sharing what you're doing, and thank you, man. And hopefully you go home and those meetings go well.
Thank you.
And then keep paving the way for us boys to move in the same direction and move forward. So thank you as well.
I couldn't speak highly enough of what Q mentioned. On behalf of me and Q, Talk Walk, would like to thank you. Appreciate you taking the lead and carrying the baton well for us to step up our game and try and carry it and follow suit. I know I'll kick myself if I don't ask this, but just to wrap it up, I guess, as a former player and heading into a coach, is there one piece of advice that you could give anyone that's looking to become a professional athlete or transitioning from a player to a coach? Because I know we didn't really touch on that, or how did that transition come for you? Would there be one advice on the trials or the challenges that they're gonna face? Because there definitely will be.
Love what you do. Love what you do, and you'll overcome all the hurdles in front of you if you're passionate about it. I say to players when they retire, use the first year or two to find out what you really want to do. Find out what you're passionate about. I was really, really lucky that I fell into mine straight away. And I love coaching along the way. I found broadcasting and did that along the way. But, coaching was my passion. So for all the early hours, for all the tough chats you had to have, and for everything you had to overcome. I did that because I loved waking up at 5:30 in the morning to get up and go do my job.
Yeah.
I bounced out of bed every single morning because I loved what I did. You know, I think that's my piece of advice to anybody is find your passion, find what you love, you'll chase it even harder.
Nice. Thank you also.
Yeah, that's
And thank you from me and those guys that I mentioned from my generation, whether we picked up the baton or not, for what you guys are doing. Thank you for looking after our boys and our community here today and going forward, and for also the lessons you're teaching your boys, that this is what we're about.
Yeah.
Our culture of service and our duty of service. Whether you're doing it intentionally or knowing that you're doing it, your kids are watching and they're learning and you're teaching them the right stuff. So thank you heaps for giving me a look, man.
Yeah.
Okay, Lovos. Thank you.
Also. What a way to start 2025, eh? Off on a
Man.
bang. Wishing you all the best.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
boys.